Right now, let's talk about something happening back home, and that is the ongoing culture wars. No, just briefly, we're going to turn away from the issue of the statues being toppled and the TV shows being cancelled. There's almost an attempt to cancel JK Rowling. She tweeted a message about, a lovely conversation at this time of the morning, but menstruation. So there was a tweet which she responded to and retweeted, which was about people who menstruate, and she simply made a little joke, making the point that didn't we used to have a word for those people? Trying to come up with a word similar to women, because of course it is only women who menstruate. That's not transphobic. That's biological fact. Well, she then was inundated with huge amounts of abuse from trans activists who don't represent anyone but trans activists, and she faced incredible amounts of abuse. She has now issued a blog in which she has pointed out that the reason why she feels so strongly about women's rights in the face of the issue with trans rights, when they stamp on women's rights in terms of single-sex spaces, is because she says she is a survivor of domestic abuse and also sexual assault, and that is why she feels so strongly about the safety of women. But should she have had to justify what she had to say? Let's talk to Brendan O'Neill, who's the editor of Spiked Online, and joins us now. Good morning to you, Brendan.
Hi, Julia.
And my worry about this, and I feel very sympathetic to JK Rowling in terms of the abuse she gets. I've always come out and supported her on this issue. I think she's very brave to speak out on this issue, given how much celebrities get abuse and try to get cancelled. But is she not guilty of entering into the victim Olympics by justifying the statement of facts, by saying, but I'm a victim too, and therefore I can say it, because I believe and agree with everything she's stated, but I'm not a victim of sexual assault or domestic abuse. But it still makes the comments, it doesn't invalidate the comments because I'm not, does it?
It was a little unfortunate, I thought, that she felt she had to say that. I mean, I can understand why, because as you're saying, the abuse that she has had over the past few days is just absolutely shocking. Some of it deeply, deeply misogynistic, threats of sexual violence, people calling her words we can't possibly say on the radio at this time, really horrific sexist abuse, simply because she thinks that, to put it bluntly, if you have a penis, you are not a woman. Right, and now that used to be a perfectly rational, biologically true belief. But now women who say that, women who say, listen, there are men and women, they are different, and women need their own spaces, they will be raged against in the way that JK Rowling has been. So I think it was a defensive measure on her part, because I think she feels so completely under attack that she felt she had to justify why she feels so strongly about this issue. But I agree with you. Women absolutely should have the right to speak freely on this issue, whatever their background, whatever their experiences, and they should not be shot down in the way that they are being.
Well, as equally men, I'm not of the view that I can't talk about something because I'm not a man, or I'm not gay, or I'm not trans, or I'm not black, or anything else. And what I thought was fascinating was the fact that the two actors, Daniel Radcliffe, I mean, she made Daniel Radcliffe, he's the star of Harry Potter, Eddie Redmayne, who starred in the Fantastic Beasts film, basically speaking out and saying they don't agree with her. Now, they're just as entitled to speak out. But do those two men honestly believe that JK Rowling is transphobic? Being transphobic, again, it's a made-up word. I mean, I suppose all words are, technically speaking, made up. But there's nothing she has ever said that has expressed any hate, any fear, any willingness to in any way disrespect trans people at all. She is simply standing up for the need to acknowledge that women are a different biological sex, and that women have have needs as a gender, which are actually stamped all over when you allow biological men into their single sex safe spaces like changing rooms and like bathrooms and women's refuges and prisons. Do you think it's extraordinary that those men have spoken out against her? Do you think they genuinely think she is transphobic?
It's so hard to tell. I mean, they probably do, because that phony word transphobia, which is really just used against anyone who criticises any aspect of trans activism. So JK Rowling goes out of her way to say that she respects trans people, she knows trans people, she reads lots of stuff written by trans people. Her only concern is with that a more extreme wing of trans activism, which thinks women's spaces should be completely thrown open to people who are biological males. So transphobia, I think, is a nonsense word. So they may well have bought into that nonsense. What I find really shocking is that Eddie Redmayne and Daniel Radcliffe, as you say, they are perfectly at liberty to say whatever they want. But I find it quite funny that the kind of PC woke people who would normally denounce that kind of thing as mansplaining, they never say it in relation to the trans issue. Because what we have here are two young men telling a woman who is slightly older than them what it really means to be a woman, and telling her that she is wrong in what she says about womanhood. And you just think, hold on, normally they would be denounced for mansplaining, for being sexist and so on. But in this case, of course, they are cheered to the rafters, because there is no greater thought crime today than believing in biological truths about men and women.
Yeah, I mean, this is the terrifying thing. And again, no one is safe from this, just stating facts. But again, as I said at the beginning, my worry is if we're going to justify her saying something because she's a victim, we're just entering into the victim Olympics of are women or trans people or people who are victims of abuse. Who is the biggest victim here? Why can't we not be victims? And why can't we just have an honest and sensible conversation where people give their views as equals? It's a mad idea, but it might catch on one day. Brendan O'Neill from Spiked Online, always lovely to speak to you.